Well, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is the Marion City Council work session for Tuesday, May 19th, 2026. First on our agenda for this work session, we have a couple proclamations, actually. First one is for Public Works Week, and I've asked Councilmember Menser to read that one on behalf of the City Council. Anyone here from our Public Works Department come up front? Come up front while she reads it so you can be appreciated. Great.
Okay, well, we'll do this in honor of you then, so you don't have to speak. Okay. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Marion. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for building, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our residents. And whereas it is in the public interest for the residents, civic leaders, and children in Marion to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, I, Sarah Menser, on behalf of Nicholas Abuasli, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby designate the week of May 17th to 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week. Sounds a round of applause. Want to say something?
Sure. So I know a lot of times it's me that's here sitting here representing Public Works, but this is just only a portion of our team. So we have a great team behind us that does all the stuff that we hear the good things that we do better than our suburbs to the southwest.
Come on, guys.
So y'all gotta get in the picture.
Yeah, I think that Mayor. Everybody in there?
I don't, yeah, don't block me, it's okay.
Okay, just one more. I'm gonna do a mayor. I gotta go this way though. Otherwise I can't get all ya. I'm not tall enough. How do you do this, Mayor? Oh, there we go. There we go.
Kim's in training.
You need a tutorial, Kim. We'll work on it. Our second proclamation is for Military Appreciation Month. Do we have any military veterans here? Frank? Frank? Come on up. If any military veterans, come up and join me. Whereas the freedom and security enjoyed by the people of the United States are the direct results of the sacrifices made by the continued vigilance demonstrated by the members of the United States Armed Forces, and whereas members of the United States Armed Forces, including active duty, National Guard, and Reserve components, serve with dedication while often balancing civilian careers, family responsibilities, and military obligations, and whereas the service and sacrifice of military members and their families have preserved the liberties that define this nation and strengthened communities across the country. And whereas in 2004, the United States Congress designated May as National Military Appreciation Month to encourage recognition of those who have served and those who continue to serve in defense of freedom. And whereas the City of Marion benefits from the leadership, discipline, and service ethic of military members who live and work within the community. And whereas recognizing military service promotes civic awareness, respect for public service, and appreciation for the sacrifices made by service members and their families. Now, therefore, I, Nicholas Abuasili, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Military Appreciation Month in the City of Marion and encourage all residents to recognize and support the men and women of the armed forces and their families.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is a presentation on the professional services agreement with Gallagher Benefit Services. Greg.
Hi. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I gotta get this. I'm Greg Harder, the Payroll and Benefits Manager. PDCM Insurance has served as the city's benefits broker since 2021 and has been a strong partner with both the city and our employees, helping support a number of improvements during that time. With their current contract ending on June 30th, we initiated an RFP process to ensure the city remains competitive and aligned with our long-term strategic goals. As part of the RFP process, our team focused on a few key priorities. We were looking for a firm that takes a proactive approach, provides strong analytical and modeling capabilities to support informed, data-driven decisions, and places a strong focus on the employee experience, especially through a modern, easy-to-use digital platform. We received 6 proposals, and the review team conducted interviews and detailed evaluations of 4 finalists. I'd also like to thank the evaluation team, which included Councilmember Jensen and members of our HR and finance team. After completing that process, staff is recommending Gallagher Benefit Services based on their extensive public sector experience and their proactive approach to supporting the city's strategic goals. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Michael Rosum and Brian Doyle with Gallagher for a brief overview of their team and their approach.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council, for having us today. We just click through ourselves to get here. Perfect. So I'm Michael Rosum. I'm with Gallagher. This is Brian Doyle. And we are honored to have the opportunity to be here and participate in the RFP process and also be here to give you an overview today. So wanted to just first touch on, number one, the core team that we plan on working with the city. Like I said, Brian and myself, Renee and Denise being our local team based out of our Cedar Rapids office. And then we also have Nick and some additional members that'll be there to support the city of Marion, and not only the employee benefits efforts, but also from a compliance standpoint. So myself and Brian being point people as advisors and consultants for the city of Marion. And then on the service side, we have Renee and Denise also being the point people for our service for the city of Marion. The additional team members that we do bring to the table for the city. Our Benefit Advocate Center is meant to be a direct resource for the employees. So when it comes to claims issues, simple benefit questions, it's a resource for them to go directly to our team at our advocacy team rather than calling customer service with any of the carriers. Big emphasis as well, specific to the city of Marion being our compliance consulting team, as well as our financial and actuarial consulting team, which would be very important for the city of Marion. We do have some additional team members that we can call on when and if those types of situations would arise, pharmacy consulting, HR and technology consulting, as well as well-being consultants that we can tap when that comes out. I did want to highlight before turning things over to Brian, specifically our compliance consulting, as well as our financial and actuarial consulting. So really important with updated benefit changes, legislative updates. Our compliance team is one of the strongest in the nation with over 30 plus experts, over 23 attorneys on staff with Gallagher that we can turn to for questions and also updates, timely updates when it comes to legislation that's important. Not only for groups in general, but more specifically public sector employers that we can work with. And then we had mentioned the financial and actuarial consulting, the FAC team really is something that we're going to tap into on a monthly basis when it comes to specifically medical claims and reporting, so we can stay proactive with the team members here at the City of Marion, and also looking long-term at the feasibility of the overall program.
That's good. How do you move this forward? Gotcha. Thank you, Michael. As Michael mentioned, my name is Brian Doyle. I'm the other advisor working with you. And what I'd like to focus on is just more communication support as well as Gallagher Drive. So communication support, historically, the city has had an employee benefit guide that's really been an all-encompassing document showing the benefits that are available to new employees or current employees of the city. What we want to do is work with a couple different platforms to really elevate that communication branding. So in the center is an example of what that guide would look like. On the right here, we have Bright, which is it's more of a virtual platform that doesn't need a sign-in or anything along those lines. So you can use that when you're onboarding employees or looking at onboarding employees, or throughout the year, people can access it without having to go through the whole login process. In addition to it having the PDF component, it would allow you to have a decision tool, so you can enter a little bit of information about your own specific situation, and it might recommend a plan or two based off what is available to you through the city, as well as kind of navigate and kind of hold your hand and take you through the process of enrolling. Once you're ready to enroll or you've been educated on the plans that are available, it'll steer you towards Employee Navigator, which is a new plan that it's going to be a resource that will record all elections for employees. They can use it year after year after year and log in anytime throughout the year. It's open 24/7 for them to access any of the benefit plans that they've enrolled in and the specific documents of the plans that they have enrolled in, as well as it'll communicate all those enrollments to the different carriers, taking a load off of Greg and the administrative team to make a little bit more of a seamless process with onboarding and open enrollment and employee elections and things of that nature. So again, trying to just improve the overall atmosphere of employee education and enrollment. Excuse me. And then last but not least, the data drives decisions. This is more of a robust reporting tool where we're collecting information. We want to know the people that are involved in the plan, know the plans that are available, understand utilization, and understand where opportunities lie in the future. So Greg mentioned more of a proactive approach. We want to understand all the opportunities that are there now, as well as what could come on the plan in the future, so we can plan ahead and think more strategically about where we're going to take the benefits long-term when finances are of the utmost importance. So with that, I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. We know Marion has made significant strides for years and years, so we want to continue on that momentum on the employee benefits platform. Mayor Abassa.
Can we see if anyone has questions? Is
Yeah,
that okay?
absolutely.
Anyone have questions? Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I'll just make a couple of comments. When I got involved in this, the first question I went to Greg with is, what are you looking for from what you have today? And it became fairly simple, is we want to go from a paper system to an online system to make it easier for the staff to be involved. And we want a more robust enrollment system to make it easier and to have information available for the employees when they enroll and if they have questions throughout the year. As well as after that, then a matter of the kind of reporting system is very robust. And to me, all of the elements that when Greg outlined and said, here's what we're looking for, Gallagher has brought to the city. And I think this is going to be a really good relationship for the city and the employees going forward.
Grant?
I really like the idea of basically online data management, educational activity, so that our employees can be as well informed about the choices they're going to make. I have a different question, and Terrell, it's kind of for your arena. Obviously, we're handling sensitive information for our employees. Can you give me any sense as to the data security, information security protocols you have in place? And maybe that's something that if it's not readily available today, we can, since this is on our agenda on Thursday, I'd like just a high level snapshot of some of the provisioning and planning that goes around, wraps around the data security issue.
Yeah, and this would be specific to Employee Navigator. This would be an external system that we use for our clients. And so they have security protocols and two-step authentication and all of those that you would typically see. I think we put together a very specific response in our RFP response specific to security that I can make sure that I get back to Greg to kind of speak to that as well for your session on Thursday. But it's of the utmost security when it comes to the Employee Navigator. Even Bright, that's not necessarily, there's really no sensitive information built into Bright. As Brian said, it's more of a communication and education tool, whereas the enrollment information and the employee data is really housed in Navigator, is where that's kind of centralized. And then obviously within our firm, HIPAA and all of our security protocols that we have to follow, secure email access and all of that is something that we follow as far as the security of data.
Okay. Well, so if you've already addressed that in your proposal, maybe if I can just see that section just for my own edification, that would be great. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Kelvin.
I have one question for you. How many cities currently use this platform right now?
Employee Navigator?
Yes.
The system. It's not necessarily specific to cities. I would say as far as Gallagher wide Employee Navigator, there's probably thousands of groups that use the system. We have quite a few groups that also use Ease, which is very similar to this. So we use multiple platforms, Navigator being the one that's most suitable for the city of your size and scope of what you're looking for in terms of communication, reporting, that sort of thing. Again, so within Gallagher, thousands of groups would use Employee Navigator nationwide.
Nationwide, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Greg.
Appreciate the presentation.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg. Next item is a presentation on the Stormwater Master Plan, Project Prioritization and Capital Improvements Program. Steve.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm Steve Cooper, Marion Stormwater Coordinator. And as you know, we've been for the last couple of years putting together a Stormwater Master Plan, which, to put it simply, is a comprehensive analysis of what happens when it rains in Marion. Where will our trouble spots be for stormwater infrastructure? Where do we have to beef things up? What do we need to do to make sure that we reduce flooding and don't cause property damage? Plus the analysis of future growth, like as Marion grows, what do we have to do to effectively manage stormwater? So this plan is coming to a completion. We're going to bring this to you next month for adoption. We had an open house last Monday where residents of Marion came and saw what all of the results of the modeling were, asked questions, got their questions answered. So we are coming to the completion of it. So with us is Steph Vane Hoagie of HDR. She's kind of the project point person, and she's going to give us an update of what's going on right now.
Welcome.
Thank you, Steve. Good evening, Council. So our primary topics for tonight are the recommended projects and CIP for the Stormwater Master Plan. Before I jump into that, though, I want to give a brief update on the criteria prioritization survey that we talked about last fall. So last fall, we asked you all to prioritize these 8 criteria based on highest priority to lowest priority for the city. We asked both council members and several city staff members to respond to this survey. We received responses from 4 council members and 4 staff members. And these graphs here show us the responses from each of the groups. It's not super clear to read, but on the left side is the council responses, right is staff. These are box and whisker plots, and they tell us a couple different things about your responses. So first, the white X's in each of the boxes tells us the average rank for each of the criteria. And then the second thing it tells us is the variability between responses. So if we look at the blue box on the council ranking in the middle there, that's ecological enhancement. That box is very small. So that tells us that between the council members that responded, they were all generally in agreement on where that criteria should be ranked. On the other side of things, if we look at ease of constructability, that's the green bar in the middle, that bar is really long. And so that tells us there is a big variability between responses from council members there. We had one council member rank that as number 1 top priority, and another council member ranked that as number 8 low priority. So when we compare what council and staff ranked for these criteria, we see some differences in where things rank, but the two things I want to highlight with this is that both council and staff ranked existing infrastructure risk and water quality as the top number 1 and number 2 priority. So what did we do with this information? So first, we combined the results. So we took all 8 responses and we have this combined overall ranking, and that gives us our priorities shown on the right for stormwater management. We took these top 5 of the 8 criteria and we used them to identify the types of projects that we recommend in the plan, and then also the prioritization for projects in the CIP. So jumping into the projects, what we did is we looked at the top 30 areas that need stormwater management in the existing system, and we did an alternatives analysis. So we looked at several different types of projects that could be completed in each of those 30 areas, and we determined which project would be best suitable or best meet those top 5 priority from the survey. And what we ended up with and what we're recommending is 22 storm sewer replacement and construction projects, 2 underground detention projects, 2 drainage way projects, 2 detention basin outlet modification projects. So those are 2 existing detention basins that we're making modifications to improve the operations, and then construction of 3 new detention basins. So in our final report, we'll provide a very detailed description of what each of those 30 projects are. Today, I just want to give you an example of one. This is in Wanatee Creek, so it's on the southeast side of the city. It's near Alexis Lane and Grand Avenue. You can see it in the model results on the left-hand side figure there. We have 2 deep blue areas. Those are detention basins. So those are the areas where we want to see ponding. We want to see water in those places. But the model results are showing that there's potentially ponding happening in the streets and behind homes in the area between these 2 detention basins. And so after looking at several different alternatives, we developed a proposed project, which is to construct new storm sewer in between the 2 detention basins and then modifying the outlet structure of that lower right basin. And then so for each of those projects, we developed a cost associated with those for construction. And so for this area specifically, we have 3 phases for a total cost of $2.4 million. So then we can see with the existing conditions versus with the project in place, we're able to alleviate all of that potential ponding and potential property impacts in that area. So once we had identified all 30 projects and the costs associated with each project, we moved into developing the preliminary capital improvements plan. Now we have this plan broken up into 2 separate buckets. So we developed a CIP that would address the existing system stormwater management needs, so addresses all of those 30 project areas. And then we have a second CIP bucket that is for future growth planning. So for the existing system, CIP, this table is very small. It's not meant for you guys to be able to read the numbers, but this is what is going to be in the final report. Several right-hand columns, those are those top 5 criteria. So we scored each project based on those criteria. And then we developed a weighted score combining those individual criterias. And then we lumped the projects and simplified it into 3 tiers. So we have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 projects. So the map here shows these tiers spatially. Tier 1, we're at about $13 million. These projects are what should be completed first. They have the best and the highest benefit costs. They address the most potential infrastructure risk associated in the areas of where we're seeing ponding. Tier 2 projects are also about $13 million. These should be completed after Tier 1 projects are complete, and they generally address more localized stormwater management needs, or they're projects that can't be constructed until a Tier 1 project is done first. And then lastly, Tier 3 projects, it's about $27 million. These projects should be completed after Tier 1 and after Tier 2. They're really more localized, and in a lot of cases, we would only recommend that they be constructed if there is another project going on in the same area. So for example, storm sewer replacement project, we'd only recommend you replace the storm sewer if you were also going to reconstruct the road. If the road doesn't need reconstructed, we wouldn't say go in and do storm sewer construction at that time. And so for the existing CIP, we have a total of about $53 million in improvements for stormwater management. Now looking at the future growth CIP, so last fall, we presented on the future growth planning that we did, and that was primarily focused on looking at regional detention basin opportunities in the city's future growth areas. So we had identified 19 sites for regional detention, and then we also identified sites for major stream crossings. These sites are shown here. The total CIP that we developed for future growth is about $40 million. We did not prioritize these sites or these areas like we did in the existing CIP because we don't know how fast or when or where exactly the city's going to grow. So this CIP is meant to just use for planning purposes as opportunities arrive for the city to be able to take those opportunities to build a future growth in regional detention basins. So that's what I have for you today. I can take questions. Otherwise, I'll pass it back to Steve to talk through the next steps.
On the future CIP items, is any of that incorporated into actual development, like done by the developer along with development, or is it all city responsibility?
The regional detention, we had planned as it would be a city cost initially, and then as development grows, the developer could buy into that instead of having their own individual stormwater management. They could potentially buy into the stormwater management opportunities that the city develops.
So there's a chance for participation by private developers
Yeah.
to accommodate their development.
Yes.
I mean, we're going to be
drainage districts, like as you develop into that,
yeah.
part of the development cost will be what does it cost to actually manage the water in that district, in that catchment area?
Yeah. I just want to be sure that we're thinking of it that way. Okay. Go ahead, Gage.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for continuing this process and update. It's been really detailed, and I've enjoyed learning a lot about what we have going on in this area. But as these with CIP, obviously the different tiers, these are things that will compete with other priorities as we go throughout CIP and the budget year after year. Are there scenarios where tier 2 or tier 3 would be elevated from your perspective? Are there situations that could arise, and then would we know that that situation has been elevated to a tier 1, or is it pretty much where it is now? You feel like that's where it would be as long as a project existed? You know what I mean?
This will be a living document. So yes, this is what we have now. If things need to be adjusted, we will review this annually every 2, 3 to 5 years and make sure that
and see where things
what
are
we're
at.
doing is on track.
Steve?
Ryan Heskin.
Oh, right.
Thank you, Mayor. Just off of Councilman Miskman's point, the stormwater CIP would be more similar to the exercise that council went through with the tree reforestation, because this is a utility, so it's not necessarily going to compete on the regular CIP side, so road projects and whatnot.
Oh.
So one of the things that we'll do, because we do have the stormwater utility, and we've been building that fund up so that we can have a plan to then start spending towards projects. So we as staff has talked about this. We would envision going through a very similar exercise that we did with the reforestation plan, where if you recall, council was given Model 1, Model 2, Model 3, and showing the different rates, so we can then gauge from council how quickly, or what is the appropriate pace we should be implementing these strategies.
Okay, so that would be the next step through this process then.
That will, yes.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and that's what we're doing. We are putting the finishing touches on this right now. We'll bring the completed report and plan to you next month for formal adoption. And then, like what Ryan was saying, we'll do some financial analysis, because if we're looking at $50 to $90 million over a certain amount of time to complete all these projects, but yet we're bringing in $1.3 million from a stormwater utility. So what do we need to do to kind of balance that out?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, Steve and then Grant.
So this has been a long time coming. We've been talking about the need for this probably since I've been on city council. So I'm glad to see it's finally here, and Steve, that you and your group have the tool now to do the essential planning, I think, that is needed. So the financial analysis, I think, once we hit that point, I think that's where the city shines and can really do a good job modeling what we need to do for the future. And then the question is, how much do we think we can bite off, or how much can we afford? So I'm curious as to the meeting that you had with the community. What kind of reception did you have? What kind of comments did you get when you presented some of this information?
We had 15 people from the community show up.
Okay.
5 of them were from the Glenbrook Cove. Is that the name of the neighborhood that you can only get to from Cedar Rapids? They came to see what is in store for their neighborhood, which at this point it's, well, not a whole lot really.
Yeah.
It was favorable. There was the people who showed up pretty much said that this is a good thing, and are eager to see where we go from there.
Well, I think now we can, when people at least talk about a water problem within the city, we can at least now point to the fact that we have a stormwater plan out there. Now, whether their specific street may be part of that, but at least going forward, we have something more to really refer to and talk about. So to me, this is a giant step forward. So I'm glad to have it done.
I've been looking forward to this since I got here in 2013.
Grant, go ahead. For sure.
Well, just to echo Steve's comments, I think this is really some great work. I like the fact that there is a natural system of prioritization, and the fact that you've got the future looking component, because obviously as growth trends for the city are visualized or realized, having this work done really kind of is one major piece of urban planning, if you will, that needs to be there. It's proactive versus being reactive. The question I had is really kind of a simple one. Early in the presentation, there was, I think, a citation that said that there would be 2 underground detention projects. And can you give me a little sense of the character or the nature of an underground detention project?
Yes, so there's 2 areas where in the street, let me see if I can find them on here. Not super easy to read. Here's one. But basically it's looking at under the street where there's an existing storm sewer pipe, just oversizing that pipe, putting in a very large box, like a 10 by 12 foot box under the street to store the water underground in the street rather than up on the surface.
I see. Okay. And does that help to deal with sudden downbursts of rain that need to be handled? What's the technical objective of that kind of structure?
Space. Right?
Yeah. So to give you 2 examples that are right here next to us, the library. So they have underground storage underneath the parking lot that you may not realize, but it's basically, there's domes, half domes, and that way, instead of having say a dry basin that is mowed. It's just something that's underground instead. Same thing with FMI. Their student parking lot on the northeast quadrant of the building that also has underground
Okay.
storage. So it's not something we don't do right here in Marion already.
Okay.
It is pretty common in other communities that I've worked in, that is a common strategy. It kind of allows for on major rain events, with tremendous downpour and the system gets surcharged, it helps store it and then release it over time. So it just adds additional capacity.
It just allows you to use the surface area.
Right.
For a parking lot or whatever it is. It's a space thing.
Underground detention used to be cost ineffective. These technologies have been around for decades, but now it's more cost effective because of being able to use the land above it.
Yeah, so I appreciate the characterization of that and how we're already using it. It's just something I hadn't been exposed to before. So good, thanks.
Steve has one more question.
One more quick question. As you guys were talking about all of that, obviously, some of the information we're going to need going forward is at what level of rain event is all of this stormwater plan being designed for? Because you can't design it for the worst rain event, but you have to design it for at least a certain level of rain event. So what is that? And I'm assuming that'll be in your final report we see next month, but
Yep.
that's going to be one of the biggest questions I think we'll have going forward.
So the city follows SUDA standards, which is the Iowa Statewide Urban and Design Manual. And as part of that, the 10-year event, so the 10% chance every year that rainfall event should be contained within the storm sewer pipes. So we would not expect to see significant street flooding or ponding on the street for a 10-year event. And then the 100-year event should not be impacting private property. So that should be generally contained within right-of-way or not impacting parcels. Those are the two events that we evaluated these projects to.
Okay, so those numbers don't mean a lot to me and they won't mean a lot to the citizens. If you speak in number of inches
Yes.
per hour, per day, we can
In June.
understand that.
June of 21, we had that 6 inches of rain right on top of Marion.
Yeah.
That I believe was like a 500-year event. That was above the 100-year event.
So, yeah, I think if you quantify it in inches or time frame,
Yeah, I believe that the 10-year event is around maybe 3.5 inches over 24 hours.
Okay.
And the 100-year is, I think, between 5 and 6 inches over 24 hours.
I think that's the information that people are going to need to want to know and understand. And if they look at this online, that's, in the summary report, that's what they're going to understand and be able to equate with. So,
We will make sure that that's highlighted.
thanks.
Anyone else? Do you have anything else? Thank you for all your work.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next, we have Chief Sprague with a presentation on the police department's annual report. Welcome, Chief.
Good afternoon, council. Just wanted to give an annual report on the department from 2025, and I have up here a special thanks to Jamie Doyle. She works for the fire department, and we couldn't have done this without her. So special thanks to her and the fire department for lending her to us to put this together. So 2025 at a glance, I came here for the last 4 months of 2025. As we look back at the entire year, there were some things that we began. One was strategic planning. We initiated that process, or the initial plan had expired in 2025, so we wanted to renew that plan. We also wanted to update our policies, so a part of last year was contracting with a outside consultant to help us with our policy updates, and I'll mention a little bit about that here in a moment. Big focus on employee wellness and leadership development, as well as also investing in our community partnerships like the schools. And then we also wanted to have a strong response, operational response with our patrol, as well as investigations, communications, and other units. And then also have an investment in long-term readiness for whatever might come our way. So I just wanted to highlight a few things. You have the annual report there. First is our mental health response. Foundation 2 will be here on Thursday to present about mental health and their role. But this is just some numbers that we have with our partners with them. So we had 172 mental health related calls for service. And these were ones that we knew that came in as mental health calls. Sometimes they might come in something different. So it was a little harder to maybe pull those numbers if they called in for a theft report or something like that. But out of those 172, 72 were co-responders where we had Foundation 2 respond with the officers. During those, our law enforcement liaison made 53 individual connections. And I'm really proud of this number of 70% plus is being stabilized within the community or connected them to voluntary care. So they can stabilize them in the home with our Foundation 2 partners. And if you look on the graph, maybe a little harder to see there, but the highlight, the green there is a transfer. And a transfer, what that means is if we have called like EMS to transport that person to maybe the hospital or any other facility, 11 of those went to Access Center. 11 of the handled calls went to Access Center. So handled are the 80%. So the 80% where we would say officers took care of the problem. We either handled it by advising the person, talking to them themselves, or even transporting them to the Access Center or the hospital or anywhere else. And if you look at their very bottom, it was actually, the graph actually wouldn't even make the number, but the arrest number out of all those mental health calls is very, very low. Other area of highlight is our Public Safety Communications Center. So they are truly our first responders. They had about 44,000 calls for service or phone calls last year, which turned into 24,000 calls for service between the police, fire, and EMS. Out of those is over 10,000 911 calls and then other administrative calls. So we're excited to have the 2 new dispatchers that will be funded this next year that will help us with the increased calls for service that we have. Next, we'll talk about officer training. So we had almost 2,000 hours of officer training in mental health response, de-escalation, frontline supervisor development. We've contracted or looked at outside places to help us with that, as well as other training like such as search warrant writing for our frontline staff. So we continually meet those standards that the state has set and do additional training on top of that. This is some of the data we publish monthly on our website. And so this is the data that you see every month that comes out about our arrest and our citation and the demographics. Most of our arrests, if you see there, are warrant arrests where we come across a wanted person. And then theft, theft from like maybe Walmart or any other store around town. And you can see all the different arrests there. So again, this is published every month on our website. I just wanted to highlight some of those information there. Next is traffic safety. Really proud of this number that we had 0 traffic fatalities last year in 2025. So prior to that, we had 3 in 2024. We've really increased traffic enforcement. We have the GTSB grant funds through the state, which helps to try to go after impaired drivers. And like you saw earlier this year about hands-free enforcement. And so we are working to try to reduce these numbers. Like I said, I'm very proud of that 0 traffic fatalities. So that means that's fewer tragedies that families are experiencing in our community. Some strategic priorities and organizational growth that we're looking at or that is underway. Strategic planning process is still underway, and this will probably take until the end of this year, as well as our policy review. I'd mentioned that we contracted with an outside group called Daigle Law Group. They help agencies across the country. They're helping us. We're in the process of bringing all of our policies up to a CALEA standard, when CALEA is a national standard for law enforcement around the country. So when we are done with this policy update, we will be up to those standards and we'll be able to apply rather easily to work through that process. We also established a wellness committee to help with our staff. Just Earlier this month, we did a physical fitness check-in for our staff. So they go out and do the post-academy physical fitness test to see how they do. And it gives them an area to start working on. And we're trying to emphasize physical wellness as well as mental wellness, emotional. That's where the peer support team also comes into play. We've done a couple of trainings within the agency. We've had multiple agencies come to Marion to receive that training, as well as their own staff to help our officers following maybe a critical incident they were involved in. We also assigned a sergeant to be a training sergeant. That sergeant will be solely in charge of training our officers and keeping all the records for that. So that will help streamline some of our training needs in the future. And then staffing and recruitment is ongoing. We're up to 47 officers right now out of 48. So that's looking well in the recruitment side. So community partnerships, ongoing collaboration with many different groups, and with the city council, city manager, other city leaders, as well as our schools and our regional public safety partners. We meet pretty regularly with Cedar Rapids and Lynn County to try to help support each other in any needs that are on the horizon. We attend many community events, and our plan is to continue doing that and expanding those here into the future. And I just wanted to recognize our Officer of the Year, Sergeant Tom Peterson, out of investigations, and our dispatch lead, Aaliyah Pullman, that they both received awards at our year-end award ceremony. Looking ahead, we've been actively looking and applying for grants. Several of these grants have already come back. So one is a staffing study. This is from the DOJ, CRITAC, which is a partnership with the International Association of Chiefs of Police. And so we just got that last week, so we'll begin that process here soon to begin a staffing study for the agency so we can have a good look at what our staffing should be. Street crime enforcement, we received a grant for that as well, and as well as de-escalation training grant. So those are ones that we've already received so far this year that will begin in effect here in July. And then other ones that we applied for, we did apply for a second law enforcement liaison with Foundation 2 for a 3-year grant for that to help with maybe those off hours where we could have additional law enforcement liaison there. I talked about policy updates for CLIA accreditation. That's still ongoing. And leadership development. Now, that's one thing for our sergeants and our lieutenants and commanders, is trying to find them best practices around the country. So FBI LEADA is one that we've already started sending people to, and that we will continue to send every sergeant through in our agency, as well as Northwestern University Center of Public Safety. They have a 10-week program that we are planning to host in-house here this fall. We are expanding our employee wellness initiatives. One of those is the employee wellness mental health check-ins every year that will begin in July. And then we're going to continue our strategic growth through hopefully a data-driven strategic plan. And that's where the management analyst that we'll be posting here soon will be an important part, because they'll be able to take that data and will be able to help us guide our strategic plan going forward. They will also help with our policy updates and our CLIA accreditation process. So that's kind of the look at our highlights of the annual report and kind of look at the head of this next year and going forward. Thank you.
Okay, you like some questions? Anyone have questions? Go ahead, Grant. Gage, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Chief, for this presentation. As some people in here know, I'm also the board chair for the Lynn County Mental Health Access Center. So I was looking at some of the data over there this week too, and I have a compliment that leads into a question. Looking at some of the data since the Access Center opened, the Marion PD had averaged less than 1 referral to the Access Center a month until this year. There's already been 19 referrals, which is exponentially increased. So I applaud you and your team for that. I'm just wondering, my question with that is, has that been an intentional strategic change from you and your leadership change, or is that just, are more officers just getting people to the Access Center?
I think it's just knowing that it's there and our officers are utilizing that. Rochelle, our law enforcement liaison, has been, I would say, fantastic in working with our officers to let them know the resources. A lot of our officers are newer and younger, and when they actually co-respond with her, they actually kind of informally learn of maybe some different things they didn't know about and maybe some best practices that they could utilize on the street. So I think a lot of credit goes to her and our partnership with Foundation 2 and trying to highlight what is available out there. So obviously mental health has been a big part of what I've brought into. So we talk about it quite a bit, as well as, you know, what's important for our staff and how do we help each other out. So that probably helps as well too.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I hope that number continues. It's obviously really important to utilize that resource that we have that a lot of communities don't around the state. I have one more question, if I may. Another topic, I was looking in the report and I was looking at just response calls and some of the topics there were related to homelessness, which got me kind of thinking, you know, what is our strategy? And this maybe isn't just a police department question, but a citywide question with homelessness outreach or count of residents experiencing homelessness. I know that's been more of a topic in Cedar Rapids, but I think some of the homelessness here in our community is just not as visible, but still exists. And I was kind of wondering, what is our outreach to getting folks connected to services if we come across them in our work as city staff and electeds too?
I'd say for the police department, it's going to be the same as any other, maybe even mental health call that we go on, that we have those resources that we can utilize. It is kind of bleeding over from Cedar Rapids. We're seeing more of it here. But Rochelle has been really good with not just helping with just mental health things, but also connecting people with other resources in the community. So she's really helping out with that too. So like I said, our officers are seeing that. And so officers will even, if they deal with somebody, let's say at 3:00 in the morning, they are given information to Rochelle to call back and contact and to offer resources outside of just maybe that mental health realm. But that's definitely something that we need to look into because we are seeing an increase in the homelessness here in our city.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for that.
Steve?
Chief, there's, first of all, again, I fully support the accreditation process that your staff and department are going through. In order to achieve that, you've outlined a number of initiatives that policy review and a number of others that you've outlined, I think that are going to be beneficial for everybody throughout the community. But again, personal comment, and you and I talked about this once in the past, but I'd love to make it again at this meeting. And that is, you outlined a couple of statistics related to driving impaired, where you've cracked down on that, and hands-free driving. So again, my opinion is if the city of Marion has a reputation as being tough in both of those areas and having a reputation for cracking down on those two areas, I fully support that.
Sarah?
I just wanted to say thank you for this. This is a great report. I know there's a lot of work that's gone into, a few slides and the transformation and professionalism that you've brought to this team and the department. So I just want to say thank you.
I echo that, and I'm happy to see that we're looking for grants and other sources of funding to help us do what we want to do. So thank you for all the work.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Chief. Next discussion is Aquatic Center update. Seth.
Mayor, City Council, as part of our commitment to provide monthly updates, wanted to come update Council on the work that the steering committee has been doing. Really, as part of this update, we've had a meeting with the steering committee last Monday, and we really were talking about Willowwood. If we were to put a pool at Willowwood, what would that look like? We've reviewed some findings from the additional prioritization exercise that we did. We've discussed some of the site opportunities and constraints, and really we looked at two scales, from a neighborhood scale to a community scale pool at Willowwood. Just to provide some examples, for these are pools that are already plans that are in the country, but they're similar and from the prioritization exercise that we've done. This is a 11,500 square foot surface water pool. You can see it has a lot of the same features that we've discussed that was prioritized, with focusing on toddler features, the lazy river. This is something that would be very suitable for the Willowwood location. This gets to more to be this current size of what we have at Willowwood. Our current pool is about 13,000 square feet. This would be a neighborhood style pool. And then we also get to more community scale pools that just want to note that these can fit. However, there's other considerations to consider when it comes to this. And just a note from this picture as we move forward is that we currently on site have 151 parking stalls there, and that is something that we've talked at the steering committee is something of consideration. This chart is something that we reviewed, and the big thing that we reviewed is the different scales. From a neighborhood scale, you're going to be at 12,000 to 14,000 square feet. That serves a portion of the community based on our industry standards. And then the larger community scale, which would be more serviceable for the whole community at that 16,000, 18,000 square feet. The big thing from consideration that we talked about as the committee is from the parking and the traffic, that even though a community scale pool can fit, it's not really suitable for the Willowwood site with the additional parking and traffic going there. But what we do have from this scale breakout is we do have a magnitude of cost. From a neighborhood scale, on the bottom end without parking is around 11 million to the top end at 15.5 million. When we talk about parking, adding spaces, redoing the lot there, that's going to run in between $1 to $2 million. For a community scale pool, we're going to be running the magnitude between 14 and 19.5 million. The other considerations we've talked about is not just what fits the character. We talked about the traffic, the infrastructure impacts, the neighborhood impacts, and then also understanding that a neighborhood scale pool in the long range might need additional community needs for it, where a community scale would have a better long-term capacity for the community. So really, we reviewed the Willowwood evaluations. We will have the Willowwood assessment, and what we get from that assessment is the longevity of how long we can maintain the pool, the cost associated with that. We will also get from that magnitude is if we were to put back exactly what we have at Willowwood, which is just a lap pool, we would have that magnitude of cost as part of that assessment. And then we have track 3, which we're looking at the existing plan and revising that to scale that down to have that plan. From a staff recommendation, what we're looking at doing, since we have the rough magnitude of costs for a neighborhood pool at Willowwood, would be to pause farthering that concepting that pool and letting us get caught up with the Willowwood assessment and then the track 3 to come to council and the committee in July to be able to see all 3 laid out.
Anything else? Would you have questions?
Questions and
Okay,
discussion.
questions? Okay, start down there. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Seth, several years ago, we went and we visited the Cedar Falls pool. Yep. Is that a community level pool or is that a neighborhood scale?
It would be ranging almost beyond community because it gets into more of a regional draw too, just from the overall scale. It's a much larger than 18,000 square feet. So I believe that one's about 20,000 square feet. So it does service the whole Cedar Falls community, but it does also attract some regional draw too.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Good, Steve.
Seth, I think we're moving in a great direction. The one piece I would ask you to provide to all of us up here is either a copy of those slides or a summary of it, because when we're at the farmer's market,
Yeah.
since we're right there in Willowwood, this is one of the most popular questions we will
Yes.
have. So we may not remember everything we saw tonight. So if you send something to us in some form so that we can have that available, or I don't know if you want a handout there we can have available, but we need another piece to at least to be able to give everybody an update as to where this thing is moving and how it's moving along, so that we can answer those questions at the farmer's market.
Yeah, I can provide you some summary of this information for you. So
Perfect, thank you.
Go ahead, Gage.
So just to clarify, you're looking for direction on this tonight, though?
I mean, if council wants to give direction, but from staff recommendation, we would like to recommend just pausing any farther conceptuals until we get the other tracks caught up.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
That's all.
Anyone else? Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
This brings us to the agenda review. There are 2 items that are marked on the agenda by staff for discussion. We'll take those 2 items and come back to any other questions anyone else has. On page 5, the first item under parks is C1.
I should have just stayed up there. We just really want to highlight this as really just a celebration. So this is a formal plan for our rural ditches, and really what it does is it gives us opportunities for future grant funding that helps pay for the future maintenance of it.
Okay. Anyone have questions? Go ahead.
Seth, maybe a week ago or so, I heard a piece on the radio concerning Lynn County has a ditch mowing ban until mid-June or so. And part of that is for nesting birds and the like. And as I was just looking through this particular plan, I was wondering, do we have any similar kind of control or interest in, I guess, we just had the Bird City celebration, and I just kind of wondered if the county is doing something in terms of limiting mowing for a isolated period of time, should we also be doing the same thing? And would that be a component of this plan?
Yes, I mean, the answer to your question, yes. I mean, really, this plan is for best conservation practices, and so those are some of the practices we would want to include.
Is that also for pollinators?
Yes.
Yeah.
But Councilman Harper, are you asking if we should implement a ban mowing now?
Well, I guess maybe rephrasing it, should we align with what the county is doing? In terms of, and I forget what the duration of the mowing ban is, and obviously there are areas we have to maintain.
And what I would say, Grant, is this plan would align with the county. The county does have a similar plan and take advantage of those same. This is the grant funding is Iowa Living Road Trust, and so we would be more aligned with the county with these practices.
But that doesn't take care of, I think what Councilman Harper is talking about is the here and now. So that would be moving forward. I think Councilman Harper, we've got staff meeting tomorrow. We'll huddle on that, on your question about if we need to implement a ban now, if that's something that's worthwhile doing, unless you.
Well, all I'm saying is we currently do this. This is just putting it on paper.
Right.
So from a mowing standpoint, we have those same practices from the rural ditches. We won't, hit those until it's.
So Seth, the question is, so if Lynn County has a ban in place now, does that mean we also have a ban in place for the mowing of the ditches right now? That's the question.
Well, I can follow up and
Yeah, just let me clarify what so I'm not sure, and maybe we need to come to a common understanding. Are we aligned universally with Lynn County now or not? And if the answer is we're not, I think then we set a longer term plan to come into alignment. That's, in other words, we've got things in motion from a maintenance standpoint. Let's not mess that up in the short term, but let's see if we can impart some alignment at a future date, like next year.
So it sounds like, Seth, what you're saying is that this does align with the county for best practices, but we don't have a ban in place like the county does.
Yes.
Okay. But I just want to clarify that you may have a reason for not having a ban, and you can come back to us and tell us why. And this is just one council member expressing an opinion.
Yeah.
This hasn't been directed by the entire council, but you can come back with whatever your recommendation is, or whatever your.
Yes, and this document, just as a reminder, is also a living document because there are things that happen in our ditches, even from the willows that are in there, and when you're able to cut those down, when you're not able to cut those down, that comes with the pollinators. Last year, there was a thistle, a different kind of thistle that was ravaging up and down 151. So we had to learn quickly about that because that was something on city right away that we had to quickly navigate. And that was certainly a learning curve for our Parks Department because that type of thistle wasn't something that we had accounted for before. So this is definitely a living document. And as county learns more, we learn more, and other types of what I call weeds, or those weeds that flower, how they affect us. Like, I'm sure you probably remember the mustard plant, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and how that was coming in and just killing out healthy foliage. So these are things that we're going to continue to learn along the way. But again, this is a living document, and as we learn things, those things will then be implemented as we go. Thanks, Grant.
And I appreciate, and I don't want it to be perceived that I don't appreciate your opinion, but I appreciate the opinion, but I don't want it to, I think we have to be careful not to have an opinion of a council member become direction unless you're the experts. And so if you think a certain policy is needed, then we can give direction as a group. And so, but certainly everyone is free and welcome to and encouraged to express their opinion and to ask their questions. But I just want to be careful that it's not taken as automatic direction.
Yeah, and I didn't mean it as such.
I understand. So I just want to clarify that.
It was just more of a curiosity, how all of this aligns with whatever the county's doing. That really gets down to it. And it's, in this particular matter, I have extreme ignorance.
Go ahead.
Quick question. As I was reading through this, and as you point out, Seth, like most of the stuff you guys have already been doing, and I've gotten a lot of insight on the mowing practices of Marion due to some friendships within the Parks Department over the years, as you know. So, but as I was reading through this and how much was in there, how were you guys keeping track? Maybe it's a silly question, but how were you guys keeping track of all this before you had this plan? Was it just the collective knowledge of the department, or what were you going from to get to this?
Yeah, a lot of it was historical knowledge, and now, working as a team with Public Works and IT with our GIS systems, we're having a much thorough data-driven process with it.
No, yeah, it's great. I was just kind of mind blown when I was looking at it on the agenda over the weekend and like, wow, we're already doing this. And I would have just assumed that this had existed. So great work.
Yeah, and just to add one more thing, if I could, this document has also already been reviewed by the DNR. So we know that we do have all of the appropriate pieces that Lynn County Conservation along with Iowa DNR as well.
Okay, anyone else on that? Okay, Kim, you have the next one, which is E2 on page 7.
Yes, this is just, again, just to highlight that we've drafted the letter of support for the old library LLC for workforce housing and in a future application, Grayfield as well. So just wanted to highlight that. This was, as we put the development agreement together, this is one of those areas that we agreed to support. So just pointing that out so that you recognize that it's there and it's
Any
happening.
questions on that for Kim? Okay, any questions on any other item on the agenda for Thursday? Anything we need to have clarified? Okay, this brings us to closed session motion.
May I move the motion to adjourn to closed session regarding personnel matters as permitted under section 21.51I of the Iowa Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn to closed session regarding personnel matters. May we have the council's opinion, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. I've reviewed the proposed subject matter for the closed session and find the same to be appropriate under Iowa Code Section 21.51I.
Okay, any questions or discussion before we vote? Roll call, please.
Mr. Miskman,
Yes.
Mr. Uniman,
Yes.
Mr. Jensen,
Yes.
Mayor Abu-Wasley.
Yes.
Mr. Brandt.
Yes.
Ms. Menzer. Yes. Mr. Harper.
Yes.
Where will the closed session be? In this conference room? Okay. Thank you all for joining us. We're now adjourned to closed session.